Welcome back, listeners, to another episode. Today, we're diving into a very familiar story from the Bible, Noah's Ark. You know, the flood, the animals, the rainbow, and that big promise from God. We'll be discussing Genesis chapters 8 through 11. So let's start with the big moment. After 40 days of rain, Noah and the animals finally get a bit of peace. The floodwaters start receding.
Right. And it's almost like a slow, suspenseful buildup. Noah waits, he sends out a raven, then a dove. It's really interesting how God uses these moments of patience to show Noah that the earth is starting to heal. The raven keeps going back and forth, but the dove finds no place to rest. Then, when the dove returns with an olive leaf, Noah knows the flood is over. It's a powerful symbol of new life and restoration.
That olive leaf, such a simple thing yet so full of meaning. It's like the first sign of hope after everything was destroyed. And then, Noah waits even more, sends the dove out again, and this time, she doesn't return. The flood is over. The earth is drying up. It's a fresh start for all of creation.
Absolutely. And then after all this waiting, Noah and his family are finally told to leave the ark. This moment marks a new beginning for them and all the creatures that were saved. But before Noah steps out, he builds an altar to God and offers sacrifices. There's a sense of gratitude and reverence there, don't you think?
Definitely. It's not just a moment of survival, but also a moment of worship and thanksgiving. Noah's first act after the flood is to honor God, and that's when God speaks, making a covenant with Noah and all living creatures. This is where we get the famous promise: never again will there be a flood to destroy the earth. The rainbow is given as a sign of this eternal covenant.
It's incredible how God uses something as beautiful and universal as a rainbow to remind everyone of his promise. A promise that no matter what, the earth will go through its cycles of seasons, day and night, but it won't be destroyed by water again.
And that rainbow, even today, serves as a reminder of that commitment. It's also interesting to note that the very next chapter takes us into a new command from God, telling Noah and his sons to be fruitful and multiply. The earth is to be populated once again.
That's right. God gives them dominion over the animals, and it's almost like a second creation story. The earth's population is being rebuilt, and God tells Noah, "Every living thing that moves will be food for you." It's like the world is returning to normal, but with this new responsibility for humankind. They're allowed to eat animals, but there's a key condition: not to eat the blood because the blood represents life.
A very important rule. And then there's this idea of justice. God says he will require an accounting for human life. If anyone sheds another person's blood, their blood will be shed in turn. It's a clear message that life is sacred.
Exactly. And that leads into the notion of justice being a divine principle. Human life is precious because humans are made in the image of God. It's a foundational concept for morality in many ways. And speaking of divine promises, God establishes that covenant with Noah, his family, and every living creature. The rainbow is the sign of that promise, a reminder that the earth won't face another worldwide flood.
And in the very next part, the text shifts to the descendants of Noah, and that's where things get pretty interesting. We see how Noah's sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, populate the earth with their children. The nations are formed, and even some early civilizations begin to emerge.
Yes, and there's a key figure emerging in this lineage, Nimrod. He's described as a mighty hunter before the Lord. It's a little mysterious, but also significant, because it marks the beginning of human kingdoms. Nimrod's kingdom starts with Babel, which will later become infamous for the Tower of Babel story.
Babel is an interesting chapter. People start building a city and a tower that reaches to the sky, thinking they can make a name for themselves and avoid being scattered. But God intervenes and in a very dramatic way confuses their language, scattering them across the earth.
The Tower of Babel story is such a powerful lesson about human pride. The people thought they could control everything, even reach heaven. But God made sure they knew they couldn't. It's interesting how that act of scattering them leads to the formation of different languages, cultures, and nations. It's a moment where the global unity of the people was forever broken, but it also sets the stage for the diversity we see in the world today.
Definitely. It's also a reminder that even in moments of human ambition, there's a higher power at work, guiding the course of history. And from that scattering, we trace the lines of many nations. The genealogies in chapter 10 show how all the nations come from the three sons of Noah, and how the earth gradually gets populated.
Right? And these genealogies are not just about names. They also serve as a way of showing how God's promise to Noah to fill the earth and multiply is being fulfilled. It's like the first step in the fulfillment of God's plan to bless the nations through Noah's descendants.
Absolutely. And even though these chapters are full of names and lineages, they're essential for understanding the biblical narrative. They show how God works through human history, even in the seemingly mundane moments of family trees and migrations.
And the story of Noah and his family sets up so much of the rest of the Bible. It's about survival, restoration, and covenant. It's a story of hope, but also of responsibility. The world was given a second chance, and with that comes a deep responsibility to live justly and honor the Creator.
And as we close out today's episode, I think it's worth asking, what does it mean for us today? We're still living in a world where God's promises, like the rainbow, remind us of his faithfulness. But we also have our own role to play in caring for the earth and each other, don't we?
Exactly. It's a powerful reminder that the covenant wasn't just for Noah's time, but extends to us today. We're stewards of this earth, and like Noah, we're called to live with faith and responsibility, knowing that God is always with us.
And with that, we wrap up today's episode. We hope this conversation has given you something to reflect on. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.